welcome to another jam-packed episode of My Favorite Conservative. I am Edward.
And I am Andrea, but I am not conservative.
You're not?
No, but he is my favorite conservative.
Oh,
yes. So before we get to our main topic today, we should, well, I don't know if we should, but we're going to congratulate Joe Biden and Donald Trump on securing enough delegates this past week to earn their respective parties' nomination. And yeah, no, I'm not happy. I am just like great rematch. Boo. I just on both sides, can we just get different people, please?
Yeah, well, it is official now. Well, unless of course Trump's in jail or, Biden is declared mentally incompetent, right?
So I guess so.
This could be the matchup, but maybe not.
It'll be interesting.
It will be.
Because
it will be.
We've discussed before that we feel like the Democratic Party is going to pull a rabbit out of the hat during the what do they call it? Sorry, convention.
Yes.
Anyway, that's for another day.
Okay.
What are we talking about today? Okay, literally nobody can hear that. If you're going to whistle on a podcast, you have to whistle louder.
Whistling today.
Yeah.
I can't whistle. I need to wet my whistle.
Yeah. Okay. So why are you whistling? For the people who are listening to the podcast, he was whistling.
Trying to whistle.
Why are you whistling?
I'm usually a decent whistler, by the way.
I know you are. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Forget it. It's not happening. Why are you whistling?
Well, I am channeling the Democrats.
Okay. I'll bite. How is that channeling the Democrats?
Because the Democrats right now are whistling past the graveyard.
Oh, good saying.
Thank you. Well, it's an old saying.
Okay.
It actually goes back to an 1843 poem by Scottish poet Robert Blair. Robert, hey.
Okay, continue.
In which a schoolboy whistles to hide his fear of ghosts or evil spirits as he walks past a church graveyard.
I like that.
So nowadays, though, it means that you're trying to remain optimistic in a difficult situation while you hope for a positive outcome. And I think that's right where we are with the Democrats.
So you're saying that's what the Democrats are doing? They're whistling past the graveyard?
Correct. Yes. Now, do you remember we actually watched Bill Maher this week?
We did,
so
yeah.
You don't have to, but...
Yeah. We did. Yeah.
No, it's important. You have to watch. My friends on the right, you have to watch what the left is doing, listen to them so that you can refute their idiotic notions.
And same thing for people on the left. You need to watch the right. But go ahead.
Yeah. But he had on former United States Attorney General Eric Holder.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yep.
And
that
Bill,
was in the one-on-one at the beginning.
Correct.
Yes.
The interview. And Bill Maher, he was very concerned about Trump leading in the polls, and one poll in particular.
Okay.
And this poll was non-white working class voters.
Okay.
There has been a 61-point shift since Obama's second term. And
okay, so break it down for everybody.
Sure. So Obama won this demographic of non-white working class voters. He won it by 67 points. So there was a 67-point spread.
Right.
In that
in what year?
In 2012.
Okay.
In his second election.
Okay.
Now, when Biden in 2020, when he won it by 48 points spread.
Okay.
All right.
All
so
right.
there's still a huge gap, still winning it overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
According to this poll, today, Biden only leads by 6.
6 points.
A 6-point spread. Yes. Which is basically dead even.
Yes. And again, in the non-white working class demographic. And, it's interesting because Holder's response was, God, he's such a politician. Well, it's only March and we'll see a shift as November rolls around.
Yeah. This is the whistling past the graveyard, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And Maher was not happy with that.
No.
Maher was very skeptical. Yes.
Yeah. And he went on to say, actually, Eric Holder did, that we have a choice between a man who is old and has cognitive issues, Trump, and a man who has accomplished a lot.
I laughed my ass off when he said this because as soon as he said a man who's old and has cognitive issues, clearly I do today. Of course, you and I are like Biden, and then Holder says Trump, and we're like, what? And a man who's accomplished a lot, and he says anyway. And then I'm just going to pick up this part.
Yeah.
Holder continued with, Are we better off now than we were 4 years ago? You're damn right we are. The look on Bill Maher's face was priceless. Like, you're not living in reality, dude. And so Maher asked him, so you think Biden can pull it out and win? And Holder, go ahead.
Yeah, he said, well, Biden will win the popular vote by 5, 6, 7 million votes, but we have this crazy ass system of the Electoral College. So again,
and that's a direct quote, guys. Crazy ass system.
Right.
Yes.
Whenever the Democrats lose, they need to get rid of something. You can see something coming here that they're going to lose the popular vote. They're going to win the popular vote. They're going to lose the Electoral College, just like Hillary. And we're going to go through this again, right? But there's that, this supposed crazy ass system that our founding fathers put in place of the Electoral College, which helps give representation to smaller states.
That's the whole point of it.
Exactly what it's for. Yes.
Yeah. And Trump did not win the popular vote either time.
Correct.
And so there is a movement to get rid of the Electoral College.
Yeah, but that's typical of Democrats. Whenever they don't win, they want to change things, whether it's Electoral College or especially the Supreme Court. We now have to pack the Supreme Court because we're not getting the kind of decisions that we want out of there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I see we have a couple people watching live. Thanks for joining us. We should be able to see your comments, whether you're watching on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, or LinkedIn. So please feel free to jump in and share your comments with us.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about some issues and why Democrats should be scared to death.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed. Yeah. Let's just pick a few. We'll go into them. And if we're wrong, please tell us.
Yeah, please.
You're the play-by-play.
Oh, I set you up to introduce it. Oh my Lord. Okay. Yes. Okay. So the first issue is I'll introduce the issues. Again, you're watching live. Please feel free to jump in. Crime. Democrats are saying that crime is down.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Crime is not down. Crime reporting is down. What I mean by that is the FBI, who gathers all the crime statistics from around the country, they have changed their reporting standards and the requirements and it involves way more manpower to do it. The states and the cities are overwhelmed by dealing with immigration and everything else. They don't have the people to report the crime. So let's look at it here. In what they're saying, crime is down. New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, Arizona, none of them reported their crime stats to the FBI.
Really?
Correct.
Okay.
Not a single one. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just okay.
So if you don't report the crime, guess what? Crime is miraculously down. So don't fall for this. You've also have these George Soros-backed DAs in all of these major cities, right? The ones in Philadelphia and San Francisco and LA and Chicago. And what they're doing is they're not charging people with crimes. They're not charging them with the appropriate crimes. They're always downgrading.
Or they're not, they're not prosecuting people. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
So guess what? This is one of those, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
Okay.
Right? And everybody can see that crime is up out there. God, just look at shoplifting. We
live in one of the most dangerous cities in America.
We do indeed, unfortunately. Yeah. One of the top 5.
Yeah, one of the top 5.
Alabama.
All right, so let's move on.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about immigration. And we did a whole show on the border, or I think we did. I can't remember. I think
it's coming up.
It's coming up. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So, actually, Edward should be the border czar because he has incredible ideas about the border. But anyway, immigration. Talk to us about it.
Well, again, let's go back to our crimes, right? It's getting newsworthy to report that there are violent crimes committed by these incredible gangs of illegal immigrants that are coming in. And, what's the old saying? Those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it.
If you erase history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Okay. I was raised in South Florida. This takes me back to 1980, the Mariel boat lift. And that was when Fidel Castro, the dictator of Cuba at the time, now he's dead, thank goodness, But he said, we'll give anybody who wants to leave the island, they can leave. And hundreds of thousands of them did. But he also emptied all of his jails and all of his mental institutions into it. And this was in 1980 now. And the decade of the 1980s through 89 was one of the most violent, destructive, drug running eras in Miami, in South Florida's history. Yeah. And so this is what's happening now. We're repeating this same thing where all of these countries are saying, let's get rid of a lot of people that we don't want. So in terms of immigration also, you've got schools and hospitals and social services. They are at the breaking point in many of these cities, right? Yeah. And the people that were getting help, it isn't there that much anymore. Or people's community centers are being closed down because they've got to house the migrants. The schools, you've got to have, all these bilingual teachers and everything. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say even schools are being shut down to house.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. You can't go to the gym anymore in your school. They can't have PE class because the gym's full of, illegal immigrants and whatnot.
Didn't you? I mean, we talked about in the State of the Union last week, but it was when Biden actually said illegals. Ooh, that was a big faux pas on his part.
And when he said yes, and illegals are killing people too.
He wasn't supposed to say that. Yeah. So why are they doing this? Why?
Well, the simple answer everybody always wants to say is that Democrats just want to eventually turn them into voters, which they do.
Okay.
But the main goal right now, the more immediate goal is, according to the census, which was the last one was in 2020,
right?
The Democrats fought tooth and nail to make sure that you reported everybody in the states, in the districts, in the cities, whether they were legal or illegal, to count towards the census. And what the census does is when that comes out every 10 years, they reapportion all of these congressional seats.
Right.
And the way it looks now, the Democrats could add between 10 and 15 seats. And that's what this is all about.
So that's the long-term goal.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No question about that.
All right. Next up, let's talk about inflation. I actually posted on my personal Facebook, you and I went to Costco yesterday.
We did.
We, in our home, it's just the two of us, 2 adults and 2 fur babies, as people like to call them. But so we went to Costco and we spent, it was just like $1 shy of $400. And we did not buy any alcohol. Shockingly, I did not buy any beauty supplies. And the only non-food items we bought were a toilet bowl cleaner.
Okay.
Yeah, important.
TMI.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay. Everybody needs it. Come on. Toilet bowl cleaner, cat litter, and
a toy for the dog.
And a toy for the dog that she doesn't need, but it was awfully darn cute. She really likes it. So I think there was one more non-food item. But the point is, like, the majority of what we bought was food. Mm-hmm. For only 2 people. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And we don't eat a lot. Like, we really don't.
We're a few years back in somebody else's administration. That was maybe the high 200s, not $400.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Again, let's remember the starting point. When Joe Biden took office, inflation was 1.4%.
Okay.
1.4%. What did they do when they came into office? They immediately had to do the American Rescue Plan.
Okay.
$1.7 trillion, I believe it was the final number.
But what did that do? What happened?
That added $1.7 trillion to the economy. Anytime you add more money into an economy, inflation will go through the roof. And depending on how much you add, obviously $1.7 trillion. It used to be in Congress, they would fight about $100 billion bill, like tooth and nail. And now that's a rounding error.
Okay, I'm gonna get you back to So what did it go to?
Well, within 6 months, it spiked from 1.4% to 9.1%, to over 9%.
Within 6 months of you were talking about the Inflation Reduction Act.
They went through the American Rescue Plan, and that wasn't enough. So a couple of months later, we have to do the Inflation Reduction Act, which was the Green New Deal, but they couldn't get that passed because nobody wants to pay to change the weather. Duh.
Okay.
So they changed the name of it, and idiot Joe Manchin, the retiring senator from West Virginia, voted for it to put it over the hump. So that added another $1 trillion into the economy, sending inflation again through the roof.
So how much did food prices go up?
Since Joe Biden has been in office, and this is from February 2021.
Okay.
So we're not counting
Yeah.
January.
All right. So food.
20%.
How about energy?
30%.
Yes.
30%.
Yes.
Yes. So,
and I feel like most Americans can feel that, right? I mean,
Yes.
we feel it.
Yeah. And I know in my regular line of work, I don't believe I got a 30% raise.
Yeah, I know.
I got to check my paycheck again, but I don't think I did.
Okay.
So it's killing people.
It is. And I really do think that if people are just voting on there's so many issues here, but the economy alone, again, I don't like either choice, but do you want 4 more years of the Biden economy? Really? I mean, do you?
Right. But and again, let me throw this in here. Don't be fooled when people say inflation's coming down. They're not reducing prices. It's just not going up as quickly.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's still, right now, it's like, it just went up. It's like 3.4, 3.5%. And just think about it. Remember, Trump came in 1.4%. We're 2.5 times of what Trump left him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And they're excited about it.
I know. Well, it's an improvement for them, like within the context.
Oh, that's a very low bar.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to foreign affairs. All right. Under Trump.
Yes. I believe Trump was the first president since Jimmy Carter not to get us into any conflicts.
Okay.
I would say that's saying a little something, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I mean, if you remember, he had the Abraham Accords, which was bringing peace to the Middle East. You saw Saudi Arabia and all of these, Arabic and Muslim countries doing deals with Israel. And
I know.
You just couldn't believe it. You remember when Trump said, you're going to get tired of winning. I think people did. They were like, whatever, that's like normal and that'll happen.
No, it wasn't
regardless.
Normal. It was amazing.
No, it was.
It was amazing. It truly was.
Yeah. And he left Biden a truly amazing foreign policy situation around the world.
Yep.
Yeah. So what happened?
Biden came in.
He did.
Yes. And I think one of his first, I can't even call it a faux pas because it was just such a major fuck up. Go ahead, censor us, iTunes, go ahead, or Apple Music, whatever. The Afghanistan withdrawal was just a nightmare. I mean, that was so hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost 13 service members in a debacle that sent a message around the world.
It really did.
That we wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
That we were inept and that it was open season on America. And that is truly the message it sent.
And what else has Biden done in foreign affairs?
Well, let's see. Donald Trump had absolutely handcuffed Iran. They were in serious trouble.
Yeah.
There were revolts in the streets. Their economy was crashing because we had all these sanctions on Iran. And when we put sanctions on Iran,
they work.
Everybody else around the world follows because they want to keep the U.S. happy since we are the superpower. Amen to that. But Biden, of course, immediately removed the Iranian sanctions.
Don't understand that. I don't understand.
It is baffling beyond belief. It really, there's no reason whatsoever to do this. Okay. I mean, zero.
All right.
And what he did by removing those, what's happening in the Middle East, in the Gulf down there, are the Houthis, that group out of that whole.
What did he do to them?
Well, he took them off the designated terrorist
off America's
list. Yes.
List.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And what that did, since Iran now has more money from all the oil that they're now selling, they're funding the Houthis, and the Houthis are basically shutting down shipping in that area of the world. They actually sunk a British petroleum liner. Yeah, absolutely. And are throwing the whole area into chaos. But, we removed them. Again, please tell me why. There's no legitimate reason to whatsoever.
Let's talk about what he's done to Israel.
Yes, I mean, area sanctioning Israel in the middle of a war, telling them, they have to find a 2-state solution in peace. And, they were brutally attacked
I know.
in this two-state solution. That these two countries that are at complete opposites can coexist next to each other. They
Yeah.
can't. They
Yeah.
can't. And it's finally Netanyahu's finally saying the hell with it. The only way, it's like the death penalty that cures recidivism rate. The
Right.
person that gets executed tends not to commit the crime again, right? So
I don't know. That's the best analogy.
so
But keep
if
going.
you wipe out Hamas, they're gone. They're
Right,
off
that's
the
true.
table. Yeah.
But
So
that's not the only thing going on.
well, just the other day, Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Majority Leader in the well of the Senate. So an official designation, not just a speech he gave out
Right.
on the stump, said that basically we need a two-state solution. Netanyahu has to go. Now, what happened to interfering in elections? When you've got, the head of the Senate calling for election change and in a foreign country who is supposedly our closest ally, right? I mean, it's just insane. It really is.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, you get the picture, but
I do.
The Democrats just whistling away.
Well, I will say, not defending Eric Holder by any means, but I will say I think the reason they're whistling, to use that analogy, is because Trump is on the ballot. That's why they feel like they can beat Trump.
Yeah.
Or that he'll be in jail. Or I'm not happy with either candidate.
Trump does something to people's brains that, I mean, the derangement syndrome, it's almost like a chemical imbalance that they all of a sudden attain.
Lord.
Isn't it?
My God. No, it's not.
It is normally somewhat rational people just go off the deep end.
All right. Well, this brings me to, we don't have a name for this segment. I just wanted to talk about it. So
and what would that be?
Yes. So the Finding Matt Drudge podcast.
Okay. Now, Matt Drudge.
Matt Drudge. Well, I'll get to that. Okay. All right. So the host is Chris Moody. Shout out to Chris Moody, producer Jamie Weinstein. And we heard about it from the Megyn Kelly show. And I was obsessed. There are only 9 episodes. I listened to all 9. And so here's a little summary. And then if you don't know who Matt Drudge is, I'll have Edward tell you because he knew way more about Matt Drudge than I ever did. So in the world of media and journalism, few names hold as much sway or mystique as Matt Drudge. He is the force and founder behind the Drudge Report. And despite being perhaps the most important media influencer of the last generation, can you tell this is taken from the podcast? Very little is known about him. So while his Drudge Report acts as the unofficial assignment editor for major newspapers and cable news networks, Drudge is rarely seen. So, and what's really interesting about this also is that he has gone from being a hero of the Trump right for his support of Trump in 2016 to, according to some people, a traitor to the Trump movement because he turned against Trump in the lead up to the 2020 election. So would you tell us a little bit about Matt Drudge before he became Matt Drudge? Because he was sort of a loser initially.
Yeah, I mean, he was unknown before he began the Drudge Report, which is it's basically a news aggregation site, right?
It's genius.
He doesn't do anything. He doesn't report anything.
Sometimes he had original stories originally.
But it is now just people send in their stuff, post their stuff.
What was his background, though?
Well, his background was funny. He had a lot of odd jobs. He worked a night shift at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Right.
I love this.
So
right?
He was a telemarketer for Time Life Books.
I love this guy.
How bad a job is that?
Right.
It's just horrible. He was a McDonald's manager. Yeah, that's not bad, but it's still, and he was a sales assistant at a New York City grocery store, a sales assistant.
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe it was 1989. He moved to LA.
Yeah.
Obviously wasn't going anywhere. He took up residence in a small Hollywood apartment, and he took a job in the gift shop of CBS Studios and eventually worked his way up to manager of that gift shop.
Yeah. And it was there. I think this is so fascinating. He started to realize that people like what was in the trash, and he started going through the trash of CBS Studios and realized all the gossip was there. So the Drudge Report really began as email notes sent out to a few friends on a computer that Drudge's dad bought for him, hoping that he would do something with his life. I mean, I think that I just love this. So, when did you discover the Drudge Report?
It would have been right around the Clinton time, in the early to mid 90s.
Well, he didn't start it till like 94, 95.
Yeah. So about mid 90s.
But what made him blow up was
well, he's the one that broke the Monica Lewinsky story.
Because Newsweek wouldn't.
Right. Newsweek decided they didn't want to go with it.
Right.
It would, even though it was all checked out and everything.
They killed the story.
They killed it. Yes. Thank you to the Clintons. Right. They were. Yeah. I'm sure the pressure was on, and Drudge broke it. But yeah, I mean, I was familiar with him a little bit before that, but it just sent him into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
And what I find funny is the actual site itself, I don't think has ever changed.
I know.
Right?
No, it's still the original type
layout.
Yes,
right?
It is.
Yeah. And it's just so basic, but it's also comfort that when you go there where to look for things, right? And where he's got the links and the different publications and things like that. So, because I think he actually started it out as just kind of like a newsletter to send out to his friends, right?
Yeah, it was.
Right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was just, it was an email thing he was sending out to friends, and then he created this website. And in very basic, it's still in the same basic code.
Yeah.
If you listen to the podcast, you'll find out like it has not changed. The back end of the site has never changed.
Right.
So do you still read the Drudge Report?
I have gone through ups and downs with Drudge. In the beginning and for the first 20 something years, it was more of a conservative site. Okay. No question about it. It slanted against Democrats, with the stories that were linked and whatnot.
Okay.
And then on a dime, it turned before the 2020 election to almost the complete opposite.
And that's one of the main questions the podcast asks is, does Matt Drudge still own the Drudge Report?
Right. That was the feeling that he sold it.
Right.
And he took his money and he ran. And do we know if that's true or not?
Well, so according to the podcast and some really good sources, Drudge has said that when he would never sell the site, and that when he's done, he will just take it down. Like he's never going to have a site live on with his name on it. So the consensus is that no, he may not be doing the day-to-day, but he still owns the site.
I will be shocked if he follows through on that, because the Drudge Report is it's a printing press for money.
Yes, but he doesn't have any heirs to leave the money to.
Well, I mean, doesn't he have any causes or anything that he would like? I mean, we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, he is the Howard Hughes of social media.
Well, that's what's so interesting. Yeah. So he left the public spotlight. His last public interview was almost a decade ago.
Okay.
He does not allow his photo to be taken when he is confronted, and he lives all over the world. He spends a lot of time in Florida, Las Vegas, Israel. His estimated net worth is $100 million. But I kind of love this guy. This is why I fell in love with this podcast. I was like, this is fucking incredible. You made a fortune on a news aggregator site at a time, like it was a perfect time, right? It was the perfect time. And he created this site. He broke the story that Newsweek buried. And now you're just living this life and you're enjoying yourself. Good for you. I'm sorry, but good for you.
He's an odd person. I know he's known for wearing a fedora.
Yes, because he's bald.
Right, bald and losing his hair, one of the two. Yeah. But that's actually works for him, because he could go out. If he takes it off and just puts on sunglasses, nobody's going to know who he is.
Oh, yeah, that's in the podcast too. That like if he doesn't wear his fedora, people don't recognize him. Yeah. So I'm fascinated by the fact that, because on some really dark days, I'm like, can we just go off the grid? Can we just be done? And that sounds crazy because we're doing this live show every week. But there's a part of me I could see the peace that would come. I mean, I'm so impressed that he's not this public figure, that he chose to just turn away. Most people don't have too much of an ego. They can't do it.
No question. And when the 100 million estimate of his net worth, I think that sounds very low to me.
Yeah.
That really does.
Yeah.
I think they're missing a zero there or something.
Yeah. And just to give you an example, I mean, the podcast debated whether the Drudge Report was as relevant as it used to be. But, and these are stats as of yesterday, 22 million visitors in the past 24 hours. Okay. 530 million in the past month, and 7 billion in the past year. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say pretty darn relevant.
It is. And I'll give you my today opinion of the Drudge Report.
Okay.
So every day when I'm going through all of my different sites, Lucianne.com is my favorite, by the way. It's always my go-to.
Which is also looks like a relic.
Oh, it is. And it's the same kind of site as a Drudge thing. Right. But I think he every time I click on it, my thought process in my head is, let me guess, Trump's going to be the front story, the lead story, and it's going to be something derogatory. And every time I click on, and 90% of the time I'm correct on it. He was more conservative, then went completely flip-flop, went back to a little more even. As we get towards this next election, I can certainly see there's a lot of anti-Trump stuff on there still.
Yeah, Democrats should love it.
Yeah,
they should love
he
the
tries
Drudge
to
Report.
make Trump look bad. He puts up, really bad pictures,
he does.
as the lead of the president not looking great or looking orange or whatever. So, yeah. So right now I'm up in the air about it. It's like,
Matt Drudge, you are my hero. I'm sorry. You are my hero. You created this behemoth of a media organization, and then you had I don't want to say a small ego, but you were comfortable enough with yourself and what you had done to just walk away and enjoy your life. Good for you.
Yeah.
I am so impressed with that. All right. So that was a little sidebar because I was so excited about this podcast. Again, thank you so much to the host. We will definitely tag Chris Moody and the producer, Jamie Weinstein. You guys did an amazing job. All right. So we are going to go to This Week in Woke. It's a great one, you guys. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
Yes. Headline, Planet Fitness, which I'm a member of.
I know you are a bit. I know.
Defends banning customer who reported man in woman's locker room.
Yes. And this was in Fairbanks,
Alaska. Do you want to read this?
Yeah. So the Planet Fitness is defending its decision they canceled the membership of an Alaskan customer because she reported a man in the women's locker room who was shaving. So Patricia Silva, hero, Patricia, you're a hero. So she encountered this individual and she described a man with a penis.
That would be a man.
Yeah, that would be a man. And she said, she posted a video to Facebook and she said, I just came out of Planet Fitness and there's a man shaving in the women's bathroom. And in her description of the interaction, she said the individual defended himself by saying, I'm queer, LGBTQ, whatever. And she claimed that this was still an invasion of privacy. Hell yes, it is, as the individual was in the presence of a 12-year-old girl.
I'm sorry, what?
A 12-year-old girl.
12-year-old girl, a man with a penis shaving his face.
Yes. And what I love about, again, Patricia Silva, hero, she said the kindest thing. She said, I love him in Christ, of this person. He is a spiritual being having a human experience. He doesn't like his gender, so he wants to be a woman, but I'm not comfortable with him shaving in my bathroom. That is fair. It's a man should not be in a woman's space.
Right. So how did Planet Fitness resolve this situation?
They
and here's the Week in Woke.
Well, they canceled her membership.
They canceled her membership.
Yes.
Because Planet Fitness always has signs around in there that says, no judgment-free zone,
right?
All that
that's
kind of
stuff.
Their thing. Okay, I don't think that applies to the bathroom on which one, or to the locker rooms, which one you should go into.
Yeah,
it's more for if somebody's there, is completely out of shape or whatever. Nobody's going to give them a hard time. I've never seen anybody there speak or even look at somebody in a bad way. They're so
she
welcoming.
Took a picture of this person in the women's locker room, and apparently that violated the company's mobile device policy, and it does go against their judgment-free rules.
So there's no rule or policy that says someone with a penis shouldn't be in a woman's locker room.
Apparently not.
Okay.
No.
Planet Fitness need to get your act together.
Yes.
Yes.
And you got to remember, talking right here. So
yeah,
we threw that in because we wanted to mitigate it with This Week in What the Fuck, or WTF. I know this is going to be so sensitive. Yeah. Yeah. I love that some of our episodes are explicit and some are not. We don't make that determination, by the way. So This Week in WTF,
yes.
Edward.
Yes. Headline: Leprosy. That's right. I said leprosy is spreading across the U.S.
Well, okay, that's the key part. The U.S. Okay.
Why is this ancient disease returning now?
Tell us. Do tell us. In your home state, no less.
I mean, do we even need to dig deeply into this one? I mean, actually, Central Florida, the Orlando area, Tampa, Orlando, has seen a heightened incidence in leprosy, according to many of the newly diagnosed cases in the U.S. And Central Florida is the fastest growing area in Florida. It gets a lot of the Central and South American immigrants, illegals and legal, that are coming in. And, again, you don't need to dig too deeply. Why is leprosy making a comeback in the U.S. when we have no checks on health at our borders?
Yeah, that's the problem.
And we are bringing in millions of people. We are shipping them around the country and not checking them. And a radio host that I like to listen to, a guy named Andrew Wilkow, he's got a great saying, and it's very simple. He says, you can't bring there here without here becoming there.
Say that one more time. It's good.
You can't bring there here without here becoming there.
Yeah.
So you can't bring people in and keep bringing them in and keep bringing them in and not expect it to turn into where they came from.
Right.
And if that's what you want of this country,
and some people
you have that right. But if you want that, why don't you just move there? Seriously.
I know.
If you love wherever they are, go there.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you. It used to be a free country.
All right. So we covered a lot today.
We did.
So we covered the whistling past the graveyard. Okay, now you're whistling.
I'm whistling up a storm.
Okay. Finding Matt Drudge podcast. So good. Planet Fitness. Shame on you. Yep. And leprosy. Oh, God. Stay out of Central Florida, I guess. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us live today. We see some people watching live, and you guys stayed with us the whole time. So next time, please feel free to comment. Join us live on most Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or I guess Pacific Daylight Time, whatever, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We always stream live on YouTube, Rumble, LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. If you are listening to the podcast, which drops the next day, Monday morning, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast, available wherever you're listening right now. And please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Podchaser. Those three platforms specifically. I cannot
Easy
talk.
for you to say.
It's time for lunch. We are working on our locals community, and you can find us always at myfavoriteconservative.show. That's where you can find all the socials and stuff, at myfavoriteconservative.show. And as always, we back up what we say with facts, so we will have all those links in the show notes. Edward, anything else you'd like to say?
I do, but we don't have 6 hours, so the rants will continue.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for those who were watching live. And again, next week, we hope you participate. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Bye.
All right. Bye.